With this, with the hope, we understand. Our life is more than just economy. Our life is building a society, civilization, humanity. Let me just impart on that. I know the rest, you know better than me. But I've gone through in my life. I also want to value that and impart on that. Because sometimes we forget, we take for granted. So that Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, the name of Allah, most wonderful, most compassionate. I officially launched the Women Economic Forum ASEAN 2025. I wish you all the best, productive, inspiring, and unforgettable experience at the WEL 2025. Terima kasih. Thank you.
Dato Seri Dr. Wan Azizah Wan Ismail. Our commitment, networking, mentoring, collaborations, upskilling, community building, thought leadership, policy recommendations, awards and recognitions, philanthropy. We've traveled across the Asean region, meeting changemakers, dreamers, and doers. Malaysia, Indonesia, Laos, Thailand, Philippines, Brunei, Myanmar, Cambodia, Vietnam, Singapore. And now, we welcome you all to Malaysia for WEF ASEAN 2025. Let's shape the future together.
Thank you, Yang Berbahagia Dato Seri Dr. Wan Azizah Wan Ismail for officiating.
this platform with more than 400 women leaders, policymakers, entrepreneurs, and advocates from across Asean and beyond. And this gathering is a testament to the strength and experience of women who lead change. It is also a call to action. I speak to you today not only as the Mayor of Kuala Lumpur, but also as a daughter, as a mother, as a wife, as a grandmother, and as an auntie, and as a proud council member of the Global Women Leaders Network. Global Women Leaders is an international coalition of former heads of state, ministers, mayors, and advocates committed to driving change for women and girls. It promotes women leadership for peace, justice, and sustainable development. In this role, I brought Southeast Asian voices into global conversations, reminding the world that cities are not just places of service delivery, but arenas where gender justice must be visible. Our theme today, ASEAN Women Leading Social Change, integrating social goals with economic growth in the she economy, comes at a very critical time. Geopolitical headwinds and rapid digital transformations are reshaping our world. We must ask, are gender and women's rights still a priority, especially when even long-standing champions in the global north are retreating from multilateralism? According to the World Economic Forum 2024 Global Gender Gap Report, it will take another 131 years to close the global gender gap. We don't want that by the time we are no more here. In Southeast Asia, women's labor force participation still trails men's by over 25 percentage points in many countries. Yet, we see progress with 55 women CEOs in the Fortune 500 in 2025, up from 52 the year before. In ASEAN, Singapore leads with 13.1% women CEOs, followed by Thailand, the Philippines, Malaysia, and Indonesia. Across the region, women hold 16% of board seats, 70% of board chair roles, and 5% of CEO positions. Bursa Malaysia leads in board diversity at 26%, ahead of Vietnam, the Philippines, and Thailand. These gains are promising, but they also show how much work remains. If the she economy is to be more than a slogan, we need a whole of society shift. Do women leadership and economic participation drive the digital economy? Do they deliver a new kind of prosperity centered on well-being? And I, as a town planner and a mayor, I speak from the perspective of urban sustainability, gender equity, when women have the space to lead and strengthen our cities. We need cities that are not just livable, but a lovable one. Ladies and gentlemen, throughout my 4-decade career, from town planner, leading Sprang Pride, then Penang and UN Habitat, and now Kuala Lumpur, I have seen how inclusive So when I became the first woman to lead Seberang Perai, I was the first town planner to head the Department of Planning in Penang. I was the first and the founder of Georgetown Water Heritage Incorporated. I was the first lady as the president of Seberang Perai. And I was the first Asian woman and also Malaysia to head the highest level in the UN. I was also the first mayor of Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. So I'm not sharing with you because of me, I'm sharing with you to aspire that we can do it if we are given the space and the opportunity. That's what I'm going to do when we my tenure as a mayor of Kuala Lumpur. So this is very important. When I was in Seberang Perai, I started the gender responsive participatory budgeting and gender responsive participatory planning. I brought it all the way to the UN, adopted by the UN. I was also appointed by the Secretary General as the gender champion. And I started, we had the colleagues from Kenya. I started the Nairobi Hub. Way back, yes, in Nairobi. I started the Women Nairobi Hub in Nairobi. So these are all the experience, but I think where we are, when we rebuild governance, you have to rebuild from the ground up. And I think that even during the pandemic, I think the women is the one who are at the forefront of everything. So this belief led me to launch the Women-Led Cities Initiative at the UN Habitat Assembly in Nairobi in 2022. I introduced it to Malaysia at the Malaysia Urban Forum in Penang last October. And because when women are at the table, cities listen better. A city that has listened better plans smarter. A city that plans smarter deliver more justly. So ladies, we must be at the table. If not, we will be on the menu. We don't want to be on the menu. And yet, colleagues, only 10% of local council in Malaysia are led by women. This must change. A woman-led city is not just where women hold office, but where women experiences safety, aspiration, shape how city grows. In Kuala Lumpur, gender responsive participatory planning is being woven in our city's DNA. Our Safe City program with 10,000 CCTV and better lighting isn't just about safety, but it's about dignity and inclusion. We are creating safer zones, better transit and walkable neighborhoods centered on women's mobility. In 2024, crime dropped by 15% in the upgraded areas and women reported feeling safer. But cities alone can't deliver this change. The private sector must elevate women into leadership, fund inclusive innovation, and build supportive cultures. Gender-smart investing, mentorship programs, and support for the woman-led startup in green and digital sectors are how we activate the sheep economy. Academia plays its part too by producing gender disaggregated data, training women in STEM and governance, and documenting what works. And communities must be empowered. Women entrepreneurs, mothers, and youth must be recognized not just as participants but as planners and decision makers. the foundation of progress, and women are often the first to suffer in fragile settings. That is why gender was a central in the UN Habitat Strategic Plan 2020-2025, and there was an ED, but we must go beyond abstract terms. We must act on women's voices and leadership. In Malaysia, the path is led by trailblazers, women who became Deputy Prime Minister. This morning, you have heard ministers, chief judge, and now mayor. But city level change is where daily life happens. That is why I focus on localizing gender equity in planning, budgeting, and delivery. Within DBKL, I've been in DBKL since August last year. We are closing the leadership gap. Before that, there is no woman in the senior leadership. Last week, we appointed one at the very senior leadership. Women now make up 29.3% of the whole staff. But at the professional level, in DBKL, 43.6% of professionals are ladies. 44% of the heads of department are ladies. And 40% of top management. So we are beyond 30%. We are not just increasing the numbers, we are unlocking leadership. So we are also supporting women entrepreneurs. Our Women Kuala Lumpur initiative has trained and funded over 1,500 women-led micro businesses since 2022. We are partnering with fintech firms to expand access to digital tools and inclusive financial products. Notably, 44.2% of all active focus licenses issued by the DBKL are held by women. This is a sign of strength in the informal economy. We are building climate resilience through a gender lens. Women face different risks, especially in low-income housing during flood or heat wave. UN Women notes that 80% of climate displaced persons are women and girls. That's why our community climate resilience champion program trains women to lead on preparedness and recovery, and their local knowledge is critical to our city survival. I believe that if a woman is a city planned by women, it's good for all. Because we are more detailed. Let me be clear here. This is not a checklist. It's not a checklist to say that hey, how many women at the top management, how many at the professional. This is not a checklist. It is a new social contract. The sea economy is not a parallel economy. It is a reimagining of our whole economy, powered by inclusion. And inclusion is not charity. It is good policy when women lead. Outcomes improve in boardroom, classroom, and community. Regionally, the Asean Gender Mainstreaming Strategic Framework 2021-2025 calls for embedding gender across all pillars of cooperation. Kuala Lumpur is localizing this framework through our governance tool by ensuring housing, transport, and public health policies serve women like realities. Let us not just imagine better cities. Let us lead them. Let us not just call for change. Let us be the architect of change. Let this word not be inspiration, but instruction. Not only aspire, but it's an instruction. This is our time. This is the shared economy, and together we are building the future of ASEAN with women at the helm. Ladies and gentlemen, before I conclude, I warmly invite you to Kuala Lumpur this August for 3 major events under Malaysia ASEAN Championship 2025, which is to be hosted by DBKL, the ASEAN Sustainable Urbanization Forum, the ASEAN Governance and Mayors Forum, and the meeting of governors and mayors of ASEAN capitals. This is not only ASEAN, but the Prime Minister already instructed the ASEAN plus plus. So all of you beyond ASEAN, please come and join us. These are places to deepen collaboration and action and building on inclusive, resilient, and women-led cities. This will be on the 10th to the 15th of August at KLCC. I'm also especially proud that we will also host Women-led Cities Masterclass, a platform to share strategies and equip leaders with tools to embed equity in governance. I encourage every mayor's planning and all the World Women Economic Forum. I'm so used to World Economic Forum. Women Economic Forum. Participants will join us. Later this year, on the 17th to the 26th October, we will celebrate the Kuala Lumpur Park Festival, a living demonstration of what a woman-led city feels like: vibrant, safe, inclusive, and joyful. Through culture, design, and community well-being, we are claiming our public spaces as places of connection and care. Finally, let's get to work. Not tomorrow, but today. As the saying goes, if you want to get something done, hire a woman. I hope the men out there won't be unhappy with me. But if you want to build the future, empower her to lead. So ASEAN mandate for change begins now, and let us make sure that the next Secretary General of United Nations is not just a symbol, but a signal, Madam Secretary General. So as Malaysia for that, let us, maybe one of the outcomes of this 2 days program, to have more cities to be led by women. I hope that you can support my call. And at the end, and I want to say, let us aspire, all of us, to inspire before we expire.